Well, we can hear. Let me see the amp plug real quick. Is this it? Power down?
This is the one.
Power down? Are you powered down?
Yeah.
Okay.
Try it now.
Nothing?
This must have fucking blown or something, man. This isn't pretty off.
We were supposed to play at 4:30. What time's it now? Like 5? I guess the power is just not hooking up right or something. I don't know. I really don't know too much about this stuff.
Yeah, you know, typical troubleshooting. Here's some guitars here pretty soon, hopefully.
This is nice. This is comfortable. Generator parties were not comfortable. That was what made them generator parties.
That canyon right there is Tockwoods Canyon. There's old movies with Jim Morrison up there swimming around. Everybody, all the hippies used to go up there, party. They charge you now, but growing up you could just go up there and just drink beer and swim.
This is Jesus Rock. Various friends drinking various libations of alcohol and various illegal drug activities.
Drink and swim and, you know, smoke pot.
Actually, no, he went out to the desert party and his parents, what do you call that thing? Firebirds, Corvette, whatever the fuck it was. Camaro. He's out there, bam, gets stuck in a big fucking hole. He says, okay, party's gonna happen. Do I stay here and crap on my car? Go to a party, have a good time? Fuck it. He goes and parties, comes back, walking to his car all drunk. By then, everybody's walking back from the party all drunk. He's stuck in a hole. 4 football players grabbed his car, picked it up, moved it out of the hole for him. He went on home. There you go.
This is the old J.C. Fry building, and when we were teenagers, we'd get someone who looked older, and he could rent it out, and we'd rent it out for like $200. And then we'd have like 4 or 5 bands play. And this is when we were like 16, 17, even 15, I think. Oh, probably 10 years before generator parties even.
Red Cross, TSOL, Black Flag. There was definitely a lot of bands coming from out of town.
They kind of were very inspiring in that it was like, oh, you can do this too.
You're either in the service industry or you're the people that enjoy being served.
This is just always something I've thought. It's not so bad to have a day job and do music, you know, in your free time. You know, there's some kind of purity to that.
Me and Larry, we took over a famous old nightclub in Pasadena.
It's run by musicians, which makes a difference than a club that's just run by businessmen.
Were both opera singers. My father started a restaurant business in the mid-50s. He would come out from the kitchen in his apron, sing a few songs to the guests, and then go back into the kitchen and make their dinner. We have a night where my father comes and sings with all his friends, and they sing arias from operas, and that's what Cafe 322 is. It represents all the music in my family. It's been fun so far, it's really see.
That's not bad. I've been cleaning up my own cum since I was like 13, so I don't care if I clean up somebody else's, I'm getting paid for it. You know, there's people that are cool. It's a co-op, you know, so it's a very like socialist, pro-union atmosphere and stuff. Everyone there is pretty liberal and cool, you know. So I dig it. I've been working there off and on for like a decade. So yeah, here's to the peep show.
Want to see some Black Widows, Daphne?
Yeah.
Okay. Don't touch them, you know about that. Fine.
There's one.
That is one. That's like a dude. I think that's a male. Do they eat the men? See how the men skeletons? Where'd she go, Mama?
I don't know. I never saw her.
You saw her last night. Whoa, that's a big Black Widow, dude. See?
Can I see?
I'll show you, baby. Let me get her out there. You don't want to get bit, man. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, there she goes. She's big. Not very exciting. Oh. Oh, look at her. There she goes. I wouldn't even kill them except my little boy, you know what I mean? They're really poisonous. They could probably kill a kid. to make a big smush. God. Look at that. It's the circle of life.
If you ever read Douglas Coupland's book on called Generation X, he writes about living in Palm Springs for a while, for a couple of years, and he writes about going from the library and driving by the Braille Center, the Braille Institute for the Blind, and how the Braille Institute was it was landscaped entirely in cactus, and he thought that was very funny. That the Braille Institute would be landscaped in cactus. And so he makes a point in Generation X to talk about it. And I always thought that growing up as a kid too, but no one ever mentioned it, you know.
Cactus? You don't need any water. And dude, I watched every one of these houses get redeveloped. The first thing they do is they tore out the cactus, you know, painted them in, you know, interesting colors and put in grass. It's like, oh my God, what are you doing, dude? Some of this cactus is so old. Look at that grass, dude. It's fucking the middle of summer, man. You know how much water it takes? It's a little dry. I'm not supposed to be eating grapefruit because I'm on a medical study right now, but this grapefruit grows year round. See, this is all mushy right now. It's not so good. But not bad for the middle of the summer if I gave it more water. Oranges. I'm trying to grow a peach tree, man. If I can make it happen, we'll be stoked. That dwarf peach tree, have peaches? Oh, this is a very kind of rare cactus, you know. One year, this guy walks over here with this kid, and he goes, it was Christmas time, right? He goes, hey, how much for your cactus right here? I want to use it for a Christmas tree. I want to fucking rip it down. I was like, are you fucking out of your mind? Humans are weird, man.
What I've been seeing lately, there's this high technical playing, but it's punk rock, and it's fast. You know who's kind of like that. You know, crazy stuff.
And Mario's first band he was ever in was with me and Eric Ulrich. Poison Metropolis. Or Fuck Society or whatever the fuck it was. I remember both his grandmas coming out and calling him Boomer. Come here, Boomer. Boomer can eat 5 hot dogs. And Mario didn't even know how to play guitar, but he had a badass guitar and an amp. And Mario played one finger.
It was just word of mouth on regular old school phones. One person would call one.
You used to go to the record store and look at the flyer, and that's how you knew where to go.
Sloburn, local punk rock legends, Crackpot, some Family Butcher, Fatso, Jetson, local bands, Green Eggs and Hammonds, Solar Feast at the COD Gymnasium here in Palm Desert, College of the Desert. Rhythm and Brews, 1994, Melvin's, Solar Feast, and Acid King. Mike Maracha from Solar Feast did the artwork on these.
Just like anybody else, we'd either draw our own artwork, or I'd find a picture of something in an old magazine and then lay a piece of plastic over it, and then use a Tip-X or whiteout, and then a black pen and write the band names, and then we just go to Kinko's and spend hours and hours at Kinko's. That was part of being in the band, which we don't do anymore. But yeah, we had young people doing zines and stuff. It wasn't just about Palm Springs, but we were into shit that was going on around the rest of the country. Even though it was really hard back then, we tried to get bands to play down the desert, and we'd go to LA to see bands and stuff, interview them. I interviewed the Melvins like 5 times, and so yeah.
These days it's easy, man, with the internet and Facebook and all that stuff. You just
sign up for Reverb Nation, sign up for Cafe Press, sign up for this and that.
Back then, not too many people were doing the DIY thing. Now it's so easy with the internet and everything. But back then it was all you know, handwriting out mailers and sending them out to zines.
We made a lot of cassettes back in the day. Everyone in the desert probably had one of those unsound cassettes at one point. We were hanging out with the girls that worked at the record store, so we could actually get our cassettes sold. It was a big deal.
It just feels comfortable. I've tried playing in shoes, and I move a lot when I play, and I get really sweaty, and then you have soggy socks and stanky shoes, and just feel grounded. People have told me, you know, there's energies that can transmit through the earth, whatever, but it's just comfortable. The last time I wore shoes was at a Kyuss show opening for Metallica. There's like a pit in the middle, drops down to another level. The production manager was freaking out because I was going to get electrocuted on this metal stage. And so I wore shoes one night, and I was down the lower level. And yeah, I'm pretty tactile with my feet. They're like gorilla feet. I'm feeling around. Or, you know, there's a cable there. Okay, I know where I am. My foot went through the scaffolding on this stage. I did a face plant in front of 15 or 16,000 people and knocked my bass out of tune. And yeah, it's hard to recover from that. I walked back to the amps, grabbed another bass, plugged it in, and kept going on Freedom Run.
We felt at the time that we built up enough, I don't know, following, that we could bring in our own. So, you know, we moved all the way up to like, Mario, we want to open up for Kyuss, you know. Oh, I don't know, guys. Those guys, you know, they pick their friends and stuff, you know. That's what opens up for them. Yeah, well, you know, we bring in people, Mario. We promote this club for you. You know, we really bring our end of the business to the table. We want to open up for Kyuss. Well, you know, all I can do is check, you know, how about this other date, you know, how about with this hairband? And I was like, really? You really want to put us with a hairband?
That's when we were like Pantera and shit.
You know, it was like we had hair, but it was like, we only got to put us with another hairband. Let's put the guy. It was a funny time with Mario.
You went from your air-conditioned friend's house to your air-conditioned house, an air-conditioned car, because it's 110 to 114 Fahrenheit. I don't know what that is in Celsius, but it's pretty hot.
You're sitting at a long ass red light and there's nothing but cars around you, and then you see the heat coming off your dashboard and the heat coming off the car next to you. Heat coming off the car next to you. You have to make very good decisions at that point. You know, you're gonna fucking kill somebody, or you're gonna run your car into somebody. You gotta drink some water, you gotta fan yourself. And really, I mean it, like at a stoplight in the middle of traffic can be maddening.
The cool thing about the desert here, it's a dry heat. When it's dry, you can run one of these. They're called swamp coolers. And all you need to do, because to run an air conditioner, hundreds of dollars a month, because all electricity. This thing, there's 3 of these, right? And all it is just like water that comes through here, and that thing just turns in circles. So the water drips down, and it just pushes cool air in. Friend of the economy minded low desert dweller, you know, and or poor. $30 a month. So it's not so bad.
In the 60s, they tried to have a concert here, and they had a huge concert.
By the late 1960s, there was a huge music festival. It could have been another Woodstock, but unfortunately it was a disaster. There was a 16-year-old kid who was murdered at this festival. The town was so conservative that they just freaked out by all these hippies who had invaded their town.
Maybe I should turn around.
There's an element of danger to it because the car is getting us stuck.
Is there a rock right there? Oh, here we go.
It's kind of sad, but it used to be JB's Thirsty Bowl. Every great band used to play here. Kyuss, Crackpot. I wasn't old enough to go in at the time, unfortunately, but I was one of the little shitheads that used to hang out here and have the security tell me to leave all the time. But I definitely used to come skate in front of this place all the time when they had bands playing. That was a great spot.
I did a whole album 5 years ago with like the Queens and the Eagles of Death Metal guys. Hey, hey, let me think. Hey, hey, I'll get it. Hey, 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 do you wanna catch a ride with a stranger? Hey, 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 there's nothing stranger. Hop in, I'll give you danger. Do you like monkeys, unicorns? Do you like outlaw biker porn? The smell of ear pus, rotten teeth. Do you hate God, can't get relief? Well, do you wanna dance, dance, dance? Do you wanna take a chance, Miss Fancy Pants? I don't know, Fancy Pants, well, I guess it's out of tune. Then it goes, do you hate Mama for leaving Dad? Her boyfriend's mustache sniffy tickles in the night. So you getting the song? This girl's like hates everything and she's being molested by her mom's boyfriend. She's going down on her when she's sleeping. She hates God, she hates everybody, and then she's like, and then the only really serious line is, something's nothing if it's yours to give away. He's a strange dude, punk as fuck.
I want to bring back the real source of punk rock, which is drugs and anti-society and hating cops.
You know? Now he's sitting in jail for I don't know what.
I had no trouble with the law ever. They had trouble with me. Stealing the principal of Indio High School's car was one of my favorite memories because I hated that motherfucker. So we wanted to go surfing, you know, or whatever, and we forgot to check the fucking oil on the Volkswagen. The Volkswagen blew up. We stole the principal's fucking bug and put the motor in that bug, and then we went surfing.
When John Summers moved here, 1981, whatever, to Indio, we were all kind of like fledgling punkers. This dude shows up from Orange County, from Westminster, and zits all over his face, and like you know, red spiked hair, and like mustard yellow thrift store pants, and like jack boots, and it's like just brought him to my mom's house. First thing he did, spits on our curtains, and we're all little kids. We're like, oh, that guy's so punk. Oh my God. Of course, he ripped me off later and killed my dog.
It was a dog chase, and I thought I hit my car.
Out there probably on speed and knew that I liked the song C, so he took it down and brought it to me, hand delivered.
They had a new church sign them all.
It's the kind of guy he is, you know what I mean? He might be a lot of things, but sometimes they're for you.
Sean was pretty much like the Lord of the Flies king when I was really young. He knew a lot of stuff about music, he knew a lot of people, and as he got older, he got more humble.
Sean had that attitude, you know, back then. He would say stuff to piss people off. He invited me to spend the night at his house. Sean said something rude at the table in the morning, and and his mom goes, Sean, don't say that, or something. And Sean picked up a knife and goes, fuck you, bitch, I'll say what I want. It was like 15 or 6, you know, I was like, whoa, all right, this guy's cool, you know what I mean? He was totally joking to his mom, and she was, oh, Sean, stop it.
Sean Wheeler's house had a garage. I know so many people that lived in that garage at one time or another. That was the desert rock, punk rock hangout, you know, for a long time. A lot of wacky stuff happened there.
I just wanted to be some rock star guy. Yeah, I'm a rocker. Check me out.
Hey everyone, look at me.
Drugs have always been a factor. I mean, look at Keith Richards.
This whole building, man, is where they're doing all the medical marijuana and growing it all upstairs and everything. So the whole neighborhood, there's Pope's Nude Bar. It's been there forever. The whole neighborhood stunk, man. Like, it smells like weed when it's, but fucking idiots, man. They somehow didn't pay their rent, $60,000 behind, so now they just got kicked out. But they don't care. They're just gonna do delivery services now. Probably got stoned or forgot to pay their rent, right?
You know, basically any drug you want, you can get in the desert. We're almost like a historical landmark for methamphetamine. The Hells Angels were going out to the desert and cooking speed in the 60s.
San Bernardino County is an hour away. I mean, that's where the Hells Angels started. Speed was quite popular in the biker culture. And because there's a lot of desert out here, you could cook methamphetamines because the smell, you don't smell it because it has a very strong smell. The dope comes into Coachella or wherever it comes, Mecca. It stops. Whatever happens, happens. Get stoned. It's got to affect a community eventually.
I like it. I like it.
Well, we used to do a lot of, we would party a lot.
The boredom led to doing drugs and over partying and, you know, a lot of the negative stuff.
We did lots of drugs and stayed up many nights and taught ourselves guitars with the Ramones records.
You know, I don't want to speak for everyone because sometimes you get closed-minded. Like, yeah, we all did speed. Who, you and your 5 buddies? That wasn't all of us. What a hellish thing to do, man. It's bizarre.
I'm not a very good roller. I usually have my midget monkeys do it. There's a midget colony in Palm Springs.
We took acid on the roof of a midget house. Remember that? You don't remember that? That was like...
Yeah, that's why they were out of control. No one remembers shit.
We took acid on the roof of a midget house with Polyphemus.
Oh, rad. Is it by Dr. Something's flower garden or whatever? That
It was like one of the most memorable nights of my life, and you were there with me.
I don't remember it.
I found a white snake, like that big. It wasn't a worm. It was actually a snake. I'd never seen anything like it, but he was trying to bite me, but he couldn't break the skin because it's like a worm size. But my finger, after a while, became numb from the stuff, whatever it was, whatever toxin he had. It was really bizarre, but you can look it up in the Audubon Field Guide, and they're called like Sonora night snakes, or I don't know what the hell they're called.
Petroleum jelly. Oh yeah, that's about masturbation. Rub me down, down, harder, down, 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 faster, down, 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 and it stopped. It won't work, my dick's too dry, I need Vaseline, Vaseline, like that.
You know, what we could get on radio or what came through the record alley or something like that.
There's a place called the Record Alley, and it's in a suburban mall. But I tell you, it always had the best selection of records almost in the world of all the record stores I've been to. It just had the right pieces of everything. And you know, vinyl was $6, $7, you could afford to experiment. I just bought stuff by cover. I happened to buy this compilation called Eastern Front, which is a live compilation of all these punk bands like Channel 3 and Battalion Saints. And from there, I started getting into like the English Subhumans, and the Subhumans got jammier and more experimental as they went. So I think that had a lot to do with guys too, is listening to stuff like that.
Always enjoyed that, organizing things. And the great thing about setting up your own gig is you can do it whenever you want. You can play whenever you want to play.
Sometimes we'd invite a few people and it would turn into a party. Sometimes we'd just go out ourselves with our girls.
Like rolling around in the glass and shit, man. That was crazy.
It just felt good to organize people and do something fun like that and creative. But then, you know, eventually it always comes back to the keg.
We started by having house parties, but the police would come and...
I only went to 2 of the Desert Generator parties that are famous. Both times they ended up with kind of fights.
Me and Dave Travis did a concert years and years ago.
And that one got really big. It was up in the Mecca Hills. It was like over 1,000 people.
Somebody got injured in a fight. He got hurt pretty seriously. So eventually an ambulance came to get him, and then the highway patrol came, and we ended up getting in a lot of trouble for that concert.
You got a fine and had to do community service and cleaning up stuff and whatever. And
that was kind of the end of my promoting shows out in the middle of nowhere after that. That was really pretty scary. And I realized how irresponsible.
Who could you possibly be bothering?
You know, small town cops. And
the last desert party I remember was we were playing up at the nudist colony, and the cops showed up and they let the dogs go. And the dogs didn't know that there was cactus. You see all these dogs coming down the hill, and all of a sudden they run into this cactus and you just hear the dogs crying. What were the cops doing, like letting dogs go and a bunch of kids? That was kind of weird.
What's better, to let 800 people on acid drive home, or not, maybe just kind of hang there and have a good time and sleep it off, you know?
When I was like 14 years old, I saw a dude get his head fucking kicked in and smashed with a cinder block. Yeah. And nobody was there to break it up, you know? It's just like that, sometimes that happened.
It was like, fuck you, man. One time I went around and drove to like a bunch of people's houses and ratted out all their girlfriends, and that didn't come across good. But at the same time, it was like, you know, that's what rock and roll is, people going out and doing their thing and lying, you know what I mean?
Parties all the time, disagreements, fights.
In 1981, I would have said there's a rivalry. Sean Wheeler had his band.
Me and Sean got in an actual fist fight at one point because the Palm Springs punkers kind of separated. There was the Indio punks, the Palm Springs punks, and then, you know, Sean was doing his thing. We didn't dig it, so we went and did our thing.
The Palm Springs guys, the Indio guys, the Cathedral City guys. The punk scene always had these weird, like, you know, rites of passage. And
at Burger King, where the punk rockers hung out and the stoners hung out at Carl's Jr.
But that territorial thing is bullshit. I think it's bullshit.
You know, your family and friends are all you ever get that's worth anything.
I went to see Queens of the Stone Age for the first time a few months ago, and the backstage room was all these old timers. You know, Mario Lalli was there, Sean Wheeler was there, a bunch of people were there, and it was like a family reunion. It was awesome.
Me, Larry, Alfredo, We were called Inglenook.
Inglenook, yeah.
Yeah.
It's about
I don't know why.
86, 87.
I
It
remember
sounds
this,
like a mid-coast wine.
That's what it was, actually. We're like, whatever. But I had a big van, like the Sprinter, but
The
Dodge.
Provolone?
No, yes, the Provolone. And I spray painted on the side, Inglenook, like this.
Dude, it was white, right?
No, it was like multicolored.
Okay,
tan.
no, because I remember seeing, dude, there was like an
Yeah.
SST bumper sticker, I think, on it. I'd see you driving around, dude, with like a trench coat on, and I'd just be like, fuck, that guy's gnarly.
We were at the beach with this van with spray painted Inglenook on the side,
Yeah.
And the cops thought it was a gang, Inglenook.
It's a tough gang.
They pulled over and they got us out of the van.
Their rivals,
like this, we're like this.
What was your color? Rosé?
Chablis.
Stupid.
I was always getting busted, and Sean was always getting away with it. A lot of trouble with the cops. I remember the cops were after us, and we're young and they're old. We put our boards like this, we're jamming because we're in the grass. We're doing this number, and I was in the lead, and Sean started falling back or getting tired or something, and he did a jump behind the palm tree thing, and we did this number, and the cop stopped right by him, and I remember the cop going, "Stop!" and he had his billy club like this, and I think he was gonna throw it at me, because I just kept going. But then I looked back, and Sean was stashed behind the tree, and the cop had him, and I just stopped, because he was my buddy, you know what I mean? And I just said, "Fuck it, we're going to jail, I guess, or whatever, right?"
Stoner rock, I guess, would be like Fu Manchu, Nebula.
High on Fire,
heavy metal.
Orange, yeah. But
On
that's-
Fire and Orange Goblin are heavy metal.
Yeah. Nebula's stone rock, but it's heavy psych.
Yeah.
When I think of a stoner rock band, comes to mind fucking Nebula. I don't know why.
Weed Eater.
More the. No, Weed Eater is more like sludge, stoner sludge. They're more sludgy, Stoner rocky is more, I think, more rock and rolly.
It's weird to me, when people say that Kyuss started stoner rock.
I would say Kyuss is ground zero for what's really considered desert rock and stoner rock, and everything else is kind of different offshoots of that.
A lot of people like Atomic Bitch Wax, which, that's stoner rock.
Stoner rock.
Why not call it drunk rock?
Some of the creators of that music don't like that term.
I guess it fits to the vibe of the sound. I guess there's a lot of those bands that you'd call stoner rock, but those people aren't really stoners.
What about the fucking rappers that smoke weed?
That's stoner rap, mate.
Stoner rap? Is there such thing as stoner rap?
Yeah, Limp Bizkit.
Monster Magnet. They consider themselves originally more of a psych and garage band. They had a big influence, I think, on some of the bands that came out, like Kyuss and stuff like that afterwards.
When I joined Kyuss, the favorite band to be heard in the van or the RV or whatever we were traveling in was Monster Magnet.
We all got together. We all, God, it's so fucking good, man. It was like both Kyuss and Fu Manchu.
The same people doing the same thing with variations. And even the 70s people were listening to stuff from the 60s and the 50s.
Fucking influence that came out of the 60s and combination of psychedelic and garage rock.
To me, that was the true stoner rock, Jimi Hendrix.
We used to play with Mudhoney and Nirvana from that whole thing, grunge, And I remember those guys would always be called grunge, and they'd be all like the same thing. What is that? What's grunge? Nirvana called himself grunge, and Mudhoney, not really, but people did.
Kind of grungy without being Seattle grungy, kind of just a sound that's endemic to the desert. It's just kind of a slow-moving
vibe is what I think it is, and it's the desert vibe, but I don't think it's limited to one thing.
It's stoner rock, whatever that is. To me, is jamming.
And you make it heavier by detuning and repeating like a Killing Joke type thing. And to me, that's very hypnotic.
Get out on stage, and the first song basically is the tuning song. I don't think many people were doing it that low. I mean, Sabbath tuned down a little bit.
I don't need to be fucking Yngwie Malmsteen up here on the highest frets to get higher. I'd rather get lower. So I like to play where you can feel it, you know? In your pelvis region.
And of course, copious amounts of marijuana always help.
Stoner just means someone that likes getting stoned.
Cool. Let's get stoned and rock. I do a lot of that.
I'm convinced that the term stoner rock was born in California because I never heard really anybody say stoner or call it, oh, he's a stoner, until I got to California now. Somebody told me recently that it's not true that they heard that in Philadelphia or Jersey, but that's kind of California to me. Just like bitchin' or fucking, or that's boss, you know what I mean?
I think the music comes first and then someone calls it something because it's easier to digest for people or to describe something if it's got a clear name. And the more time passes, the more is associated with it, so it becomes a clearer and clearer idea. But within that name, there's also infinite possibilities.
As a genre name, I guess stoner is better than alternative or new wave.
The history of stoner rock right here, if you can unsolve the mystery, it's all here in the puzzle. They're missing pieces. All these pieces are, it's like the ancient ruins from the wizard, with the all-knowing wizard and the owl of you know, the mysteries of stoner rock. Broken-footed angel, the monkey who lost his surfboard because there was no water in the desert, to the remains of the Hispanic man, Santa Claus without gifts, and the dragon, and the unicorn, and the Holy Mother, and the pumpkin.
We've seen all kinds of wildlife out there. We've seen a bear, see a lot of deer, bobcats. There were some golden eagles that lived up in that canyon up there. And there's actually a pure white hawk that soars over this meadow. It's like living in slow motion. I can't imagine moving back to the city.
Yeah, well, the desert is really shitty, and then the city is pretty good. Hey, turn that back on, man. Okay, and because this is an important part.
LA, dude.
Escape was the cool thing about it is we all had our forts, our little getaways in the desert where we'd have our porno mags and some cigarettes stashed, or you know, some weird stuff, or some firecrackers, or God knows what else, you know. But it was, you go out there and do whatever the fuck you wanted.
I can appreciate it a little more now that I'm pushing 47 as opposed to when I was 16.
At the time, I think all of us kind of were like, is this all there is? But looking back, it was awesome.
If you're in the desert, you're proud of living in the desert. And it's also one of those places where you're allowed to talk shit about it to the other people that live there. Kind of like you can talk shit about your family to your family, but nobody else can say anything about it. Like, there's a sense of real local pride. And no, you don't get that in LA.
We're almost like snobs, you know? You couldn't have paid the bands to play. You know, it was this source of pride, you know? Even when we went on tour finally and started making records and going on tour, we never had technicians ever. Because we always moved our own gear, because we're from the desert, we move our gear, you know? So we'd play a festival in front of 75,000 people, and you're putting your own gear up, and then you finish and you turn around and start pulling it down. And it was that sort of like insulated pride. The amount of times I've said, I'm from the desert, and the amount of times the other person has said, like, what does that mean, you know? you realize it's a very singular pride. Only you are excited by it, basically.
You love it or you hate it, man. There's no middle ground unless you know you can afford to come when it's nice and leave when it's not, or you're stuck here. But I think people definitely, there's an attraction, you know, and you got it or you don't, you know. I love it, man.
I love the desert. I might move back there someday.
If you grow up looking at those mountains every day and feeling a part of the desert, it's somehow going to permeate everything that you do artistically.
Whether a musician is directly influenced by their environment, and in some ways you represent your environment as an artist.
It's weird. It's like when you look at artists from the city, everything is always on the edge. Everything's always like self-expression now. Just, you know, gotta express myself no matter what it takes. You know, I'm sure for every one of those guys that moves out there, they stay there for a couple years and they go, fuck, man, I miss being able to go to a movie. I miss like being able to go down the street and buy a record. I mean, you know, or whatever.
Me and Dan and my other buddy were skateboarding downtown, and this guy comes with this Chinese lady, and he goes, "Hey, do you like Iggy Pop music?" And we're like, "Fuck, dude, it's Iggy Pop, man." We're 15, 16 max. We're like, "No way." He goes, "Hey, do you know where to get some weed?" We're like, "Yeah, we can get you some weed, dude." So we get his number. He's staying at the hotel over here, and so we take him up to like the rich neighborhood, right next door to Elvis's house. My friend lived. He walks in there, like playing piano with the guy's mom and everything. Iggy Pop, man. We get him some weed, and he has his son Eric with him. Eric's like 14 or 13 at the time, and he wants us around to hang out with his son because I don't think he's had much time with his son. So we're hanging out with Iggy for like 2 weeks and his son, and I'm making root beer, like beer floats, beer and ice cream. We're drinking them. He answers the door. We go over there the first time naked, Iggy Pop naked, and I'm like, they take us to the Palm Springs tram. He put me in an SS jacket. He liked to dress people up, you know what I mean? And this is when David Bowie had the song China Girl was on the radio in America. So Iggy was getting these big checks from China Girl because he wrote it. The guy would spend the money in 2 days. He would walk into some like bourgeois store and buy fur coats and lizard boots for everybody. Spend thousands of dollars on nonsense. Went to the supermarket with him, playing Hank Sr. on full blast, the old people shopping. Hey, hey, good looking, what? And I'm all fucking paranoid, dude. He's got it on 10, a big one, you know, and he doesn't give a fuck, man. And supposedly he got married here in Palm Springs. We would go there and he disappeared. I think David Bowie was supposed to be the best man, but that's a good desert story, dude. Like two weeks with Iggy Pop and not one photo, man. And he bought me jackets. We went thrift shopping all over town. It was insane, dude.
Out of tune. Have I ever told you how wonderful I think you are? Have I ever told you how wonderful I think you are? I think you're great, just like a chocolate cake. Yeah, you got a good taste. Yeah, I think you're great, just like a chocolate case. Yeah, you got a good taste. I'm so in love. I'm so in love. I'm so in love with you. Have I ever told you how wonderful I think you are? Let's do it again. Have I ever told you how wonderful I think you are? And if I never did, I think it's time. I think it's time I start. If I never did, I think it's time. I think it's time I start. I'm so in love. I'm so in love. I'm so in love with you. It goes on and on and on. Ends up in a fight.